Theresienstadt occupied Czechoslovakia. Evening fog curls around the garrison walls like breath on glass. It's 1943, and the camp is unusually quiet. The SS have finished their nightly inspections. Boots echo once, twice, then fade toward the gate. The air smells of iron, wet straw, and coal smoke, a silence so tense it almost hums. Inside Barrack L417, a candle burns low over a crude workbench built from scavenged packing crates. Bent over the flame is Jakob Weiss, a Jewish violin maker from Prague. Once, he had a shop on Nerudova Street, where wealthy families bought violins for their children. Now, his hands, once prized for their precision, are cracked and blistered, fingers stiff from hauling bricks all day. Yet tonight, they move with the quiet focus of a surgeon, shaving paper-thin curls of maple from a stolen chair leg. Each sliver lands in a heap that smells faintly of varnish and dust, like a memory trying to survive. Behind him, two others keep watch. Ruth Schoenfeld, who used to teach piano to children with bows in their hair. Eli Hirsch, a tailor who can sew anything except freedom. They whisper while Jakob works, their breath turning to mist in the frigid air. Every sound in the barrack feels magnified. The scrape of the knife, the crack of firewood somewhere outside, the distant rattle of a train. Earlier that day, Jakob had approached an SS officer with a carefully rehearsed request: permission to repair instruments for the camp band. The officer had thrown back his head and laughed. Auschwitz has its ovens, he sneered. Theresienstadt has its orchestra. To the Nazis, the camp was a stage. It was their model ghetto, a grotesque facade designed to impress foreign visitors. Music wasn't valued. It was decoration, proof of their civilized treatment of the Jews they intended to exterminate. But Jakob understood opportunity in cruelty. If the SS wanted their orchestra, they needed instruments. And instruments meant a workshop. A workshop meant wood, tools, moments unsupervised. More than that, it meant sound. And sound could become something the Nazis didn't understand. Resistance. The glue he uses is made from boiled bones, scavenged from the kitchen. The tailpiece is carved from a broken comb. Strings, from unravelled electrical wire, stripped in secret. The bridge is whittled out of a toothbrush handle. When he tightens the final peg, the instrument creaks, a fragile thing born in a graveyard. Ruth reaches for it first. Her hands shake, but do not hesitate. She tucks the violin beneath her chin, draws the bow, made from horsehair pulled from a transport cart, across the strings. A thin note wavers in the dark. It's imperfect, ghostly, but unmistakably music. They all freeze. For a breath, the barrack doesn't exist. Not the wire, not the guards, not the hunger. Just that sound, a sliver of the world before. Outside, the wind carries it toward the walls. Near the watchtower, an SS sentry frowns, unsure whether he imagined it. The Orchestra of Shadows. By the summer of 1944, Theresienstadt's orchestra has grown to dozens. Officially, they play for the SS, marching tunes, waltzes for inspections, grotesque serenades for visiting dignitaries. Unofficially, they become the heartbeat of the camp. Jakob repairs instruments from whatever he can find: splintered door frames, broken bed slats, rusted tins hammered into percussion plates. The workshop smells of resin instead of rot, sawdust instead of fear. In this small corner of hell, something like life exists. Jakob trains apprentices in whispers, teaching them to carve wood thin enough to sing, to plane without a sound, to build beauty under the eyes of men who believe they are unworthy of it. At night, when the guards retreat to their quarters, the musicians gather in the attic of Barrack L 318. Candles are shielded with tin cups. Bows are rosined with sugar scraped from ration bread. Ruth stands before them, baton, a knitting needle, poised like a wand. The first notes of Dvořák's serenade lift into the beams, shivering the silence loose. The sound is weak at first, then it steadies. Violins, cellos, a flute smuggled in pieces inside a loaf of bread. Below, hundreds lie crammed in bunks, silent except for breath. Some cry, some simply close their eyes and remember Prague cafes, Viennese concert halls, or quiet living rooms filled with light. For the duration of a song, they are not prisoners, they are simply human. Even the guards notice. One officer pauses beneath the attic, cigarette glowing in the dark. "They play like ghosts," he mutters, then walks on. Word spreads. There is music upstairs. Prisoners risk punishment to hear it. Lessons resume in secret corners. Eli crafts paper violins for children to practice fingering patterns in silence, their small hands tracing melodies they might never play aloud. It is not resistance with fists, it is resistance with sound. Then orders arrive. A visit from the International Red Cross. The camp must be made to look humane. Streets are swept, flowers planted, propaganda films ordered. The orchestra will perform. On the day of the performance, Jacob's patched-together instruments gleam with borrowed polish. SS officers lounge in the front rows, laughing at the absurdity. Jews performing for their captors. Cameras roll as Ruth raises her knitting needle baton. The opening bars of Mendelssohn float through the air, pure, flawless, too alive. For the first time, the officers stop laughing. The music is too good, too human. Some shift uneasily. A Red Cross delegate wipes his eyes, believing the carefully constructed lie. When the concert ends, an SS lieutenant claps slowly. "Not bad," he says in German. Perhaps culture does survive even among vermin. His words are sharp, but the laughter that follows is brittle. That night, when the visitors leave and the stage is empty, the orchestra plays again. This time, the music is for no one but themselves. Mendelssohn's melody becomes something new, dark, fierce, unbreakable. Outside, guards listen through thin walls. Some curse, some stay silent, confused by the prisoner's defiance in the language of beauty. One whispers, "If hell has music, it must sound like this." Music after silence. Autumn comes. The transports begin again. East, always east. Ruth is taken first. Eli, days later. One by one, the orchestra is dismantled, its players scattered into the maw of the Holocaust. Jacob hides the instruments in a coal shed, wrapping them in rags soaked with oil to mask their scent. "They'll play again," he tells the few who remain, his voice steady, though hope has long bled out of him. Then comes the order. Dismantle the orchestra. Destroy everything. 2 SS officers enter the workshop laughing, rifles slung casually over their shoulders. They swing rifle butts into the instruments, splintering a cello, snapping bows, crushing wood, Jakob-shaped with trembling fingers. When they lift the last violin, his own, a single note rings out when a string is plucked. One officer hesitates. "This one still plays," he says softly. The other shrugs. "Leave it." Jacob gathers the fragments that night. He glues what he can, sanding, tying, tightening. Alone in the empty dining hall, he raises the bow. The sound is rough, splintered, but steady. It travels through the rafters like smoke, and one by one, faces appear in the shadows. Gaunt, silent, hungry, but listening. It is not a concert. It is a memorial. Every note is a name, a face, a heartbeat. The violin sings for the living and the dead. Outside, the same SS sergeant who had once laughed stands beneath the window. Cigarette trembling between his fingers, he listens. It is Schubert this time, soft, aching. A melody that belongs to a world he cannot control. His jaw tightens. He mutters, "Enough," but doesn't move for a long moment. January 1945. The orchestra is gone. Only the violin remains. When the liberation of Theresienstadt comes, Red Army soldiers find it hanging on a nail in Jakob's abandoned workshop. The wood is warped, the strings are blackened. But when one soldier plucks a single string, a faint note hums, a fragile thread stretching across silence and history. Weeks later, the violin reaches Prague. It is repaired by hands that never knew Jakob's name. It will play in concert halls again, its audience unaware of the cold attic, the candlelight, the cracked hands that gave it voice. On its back, scratched faintly with a nail, are two words in Czech. We played.